Welcome into Northside Territory, Foul Territory Network's Cubs podcast. I'm Sahadev Sharma with my partner, Patrick Mooney. We are your Cubs beat writers over at The Athletic. Patrick, it is time for a mailbag episode. The Cubs are struggling. The offense is in a bit of a rut, and fans want to know what can be done,
Good
why it's
timing. Good
working.
timing for a
Yeah.
mailbag. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going to be up in arms. It's expected, and you have every right to be a little frustrated. And we're going to start with a comment that was made that has led to some frustration by fans, and I think it's fair. Can you guys try to explain what Carter meant by the 2032 competing comment? Feels like a frustrating explanation for Cubs fans at this current moment. This is from a Jesse Rogers piece, our buddy at ESPN. I Patrick, why don't you give your thoughts? I'm going to find the exact quote unless you have it, just so we can give it. So we're being fair to Carter here.
No, that's what I was just pulling up right now. There's part of a longer quote, but I think what Tyler is referring to here, or I know what he's referring to here, is we have a responsibility to the 2025 Cubs, but also the 2032 Cubs. That's not always popular at the moment, but it's decisions we have to make. And that what he was talking about was just kind of the discipline they showed at the trade deadline. I think it was a great get by Jesse, and also like props to Carter for just being honest and explaining what the front office is thinking. Like, I don't want to, even if you don't disagree, even if you don't agree with the entire sentiment, his candor is appreciated, and his willingness to explain their point of view. I think there is something to that. I think 2032 was just so far out in the future. And also, like, you don't really know how the team's going to perform, like right after, you explain something at a time when the Cubs were kind of in that mix for first place. I think it just, Carter was hired from Cleveland in part because the Guardians are so disciplined and transactional and value obsessed. And so Jed hired him for those reasons, for his background, for his experience, for his point of view. So Carter is being genuine when he is saying that. Like, he is very organized, very kind of in tune with their modeling system. And you may not agree with that entire baseball worldview, but that was the job he was hired to do. And I also think Jed and Carter, while they have way more money to spend than Cleveland, they don't have nearly as much money as the Mets or Dodgers or Phillies are kind of gifted each year to go out and try to win the World Series. And I think their mission from ownership is to be competitive virtually every season. And now that means more like being in the mix for a wild card or division title every year and eliminating these kind of big dips and huge spikes, that they want a consistently competitive team. Sustainability is what ownership wants. And I also think this is kind of how this front office looks at the game. I mean, AJ Preller in San Diego has been obsessed with trying to win a World Series for that city. In 2016, the Cubs had to end that century and counting championship drought. That is not really the state of play. It's not defending it. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's just kind of the place that Carter is coming from. That's kind of the job that they've been hired to do. What do you think, Saad? Good question,
Yeah,
Tyler.
I like this question. I think if he had said something like, we have to always keep, we can't sacrifice our future for the present, it would have been, people would have been annoyed by it and moved on. If he would have said, look, we're, we're not trading Cade Horton and Matt Shaw in a deal for a pitcher right now. People would have been like, I understand that. This is kind of like the Jerry DiPoto. Our goal is to win whatever it was, like
54% of the game. Yeah.
54%. Like it's one of those comments where, especially like you said, he didn't know that the team was going to go into this rut, and it's so easy to grab a hold of this quote. I don't think this is not me defending the quote. I don't think he should have said it like this, but I understand what he's saying. It's just a very specific way of saying we can't give up the farm for one player that helps us right now, and is going to really sting us in the future. I mean, I don't know what Mackenzie Gore has done in his latest start, but what he did right after the break, fans would have lost their minds if they traded like anything of value for him. That Cade Horton was off the table. That's a crazy ask. They weren't going to get him, but I'm just saying, like, it was going to cost a lot to get someone like Mackenzie Gore, to get someone like Joe Ryan, even Edward Cabrera. That's not to say that they shouldn't have been more aggressive, or that something couldn't have been done. I don't know. These prices seemed a little insane. I think it's less about the lack of action and more about how you say these things. Carter is very by the book when it comes to value and not sacrificing the future and sticking to what the model says. You occasionally go outside the lines. You occasionally be aggressive. I think if you were going by what the model says, they wouldn't have Kyle Tucker right now. Like the value based, things like that. So they can go like outside of it, but it's I think he's that voice that kind of is there to remind everyone, like, well, this is how you should look at it. Like, value based analysis says this. We shouldn't be too aggressive on that side of things. I get I'm not going to say fans shouldn't be frustrated by that. That's a comment that fans and anyone that's watching this team right now has every right to be frustrated by. But I get where Carter's coming from, and I just don't think he's going to change the way he, like, this is a lot of the way he thinks and the way he talks, and that's fine. That, like, a lot of teams win this way. We're going to have a Brewers question later, like 100% they think very similarly with a lot of these things. They just are executing at a much higher level right now than almost anyone. Let's go to another question. I'd really like to see Nico hit 1 or 2 every game. He's one of the only guys hitting. I know Council stays status quo for the most part. Why is that? Why does he not change things up? I just want to say I disagree with that ending. He's changed the lineup a ton. Like Nico has hit leadoff, and not every game, obviously. And Michael Busch wasn't hitting leadoff all season. He's changed a ton. Like he's moved Ian Happ out of the lineup. He's moved or out down in the lineup. He's moved Dansby Swanson down in the lineup. He's shaking things up a ton with the lineup. This isn't a great, like, and now that he has a good bench player in Willie Castro, he's playing him more. We'll see what he does now that Miguel Amaya is back, how much time Miguel Amaya gets, if that changes anything up. I just don't think that's fair to say. But let's talk about what's his name?
Nico.
Yeah. Let's talk about Nico Hoerner, and let's do that as our DraftKings spotlight player. All right. Nico Hoerner, Patrick, I don't think there's any question that Nico Hoerner is an incredibly important part of this team, and a really valuable part of this team. I just want to give you a quick numbers, okay? Like, I know not everybody loves numbers, and what have you done for me lately matters a lot too, but it's a 143 weighted runs created plus against lefties, 90 versus righties, 368 on base percentage versus lefties, 327 versus righties. Two things here. Modern day baseball, you want on base percentage. You want someone that can get on at the top. You want one of your best hitters and all round hitters at the number 2 hole. Nico Hoerner has even like he slugs pretty well against lefties. Not a ton of power, 159 ISO, no power against righties. I don't think you can put him in the 2 hole. That's just like he's not a two. He's a 2 hole hitter in the 80s. They don't play that anymore. Like this isn't. There's no manager that does that. That says move the ball, move the runner over because my fastest guy is in the leadoff spot and I want him on third base as quickly as possible. And then we're going to hit a fly ball and score 1 run. It's not how baseball is played anymore. I understand there's going to be some people that disagree with that and say, why not? It's because the probabilities say you have a much better chance of scoring a lot more runs if you don't play like that. And if you have your best all round hitters at the highest part of the lineup. Nico's a good hitter. He's a contact guy, but he's not going to hit for power. He just doesn't.
That's a good call. I hadn't thought of it until you just mentioned it, but Nico would be the perfect 1980s playing on AstroTurf in like a powder blue uniform type of player. And I think I don't know if we take Nico for granted as much as just sometimes he gets a little bit overlooked. But I was just kind of blown away looking it up on Baseball Reference from his first round in 2018. He is number 1 player by WAR by far, almost doubling the number 2 guy, Logan Gilbert, who's at 10.9. Nico at 19.8 WAR. Just amazing value for a guy picked number 24 overall. And I think in terms of kind of taking Nico for granted, I think it's important to remember, like, this is a guy who kind of came off the couch in 2019, was a part of, kind of almost an end of an era there of like the Joe Madden Cubs and Javi and Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo. And like, he did not take that for granted. Like, he did not think, oh, wow, I've arrived. He's overcome some of those injury prone concerns to become an extremely durable, valuable player. Has continued to work on his game to, become not only a quality major league caliber shortstop, but a Gold Glove second baseman, and just someone who I think I remember when the Cubs drafted Nico, it was this idea of, we didn't want to fall in love with the whole Stanford idea, that he had this great IQ, but like you saw it on that play against the White Sox, the infield fly rule, just someone the Cubs were absolutely right to build around. And that wasn't always clear earlier in his career, but he has become an absolute, foundational piece for this team.
Yeah, that's anything I say is not a criticism. This is not a criticism of Nico. Like it's perfectly fine at that leadoff spot against lefties. I think there's a level of frustration creeping in where people just want to make change. Like he's hitting decently well right now, but you still you just can't put him up there against righties every single time. I don't think that's the best move. But when the team's struggling, you're searching for answers, and I get the idea of like, let's try this. Maybe that'll work. All right, let's turn it over to producer Jeremy Meyer for our Northside Territory producer pick.
Thanks, Sahadev. The Phillies took care of business last week, so let's make this a winning streak. For the Northside Territory producer pick, let's take the subject of our DraftKings player spotlight, Nico Hoerner, to have 2+ total bases at plus 175. He's reached that magic number 5 times in his last 10 games. I'm putting $100 down to win 175 on DraftKings Sportsbook. Sahadev and Patrick, back to you.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
All right, Patrick, let's get back to the mailbag. With offense struggling, is there any chance the Cubs call up Owen Casey or Moises Ballesteros to try and light a fire? I'm not going to rule it out, and I don't think it's a terrible idea. I will say this. Look at Peter Armstrong's first month, 2 months in baseball in the big leagues. Look at Matt Shaw's first month in the big leagues. This isn't going to work automatically. Owen Casey's destroying the baseball at AAA. Ballesteros has been doing that for a while now. We saw Ballesteros' first call-up. He had a bunch of ground balls. He got a huge hit in his second call-up for one game. I just don't think it's an automatic, like, this works. But along the lines of the Nico question, like, you're at a point where you just want to try something. I guess we'll see. We'll see how long they go with 3 catchers. I think that's something I'd like to see. How long are they doing this? And then if they change that, maybe the decision is Casey or Ballesteros, and maybe they wait till September. I don't know. But I do agree that, hey, maybe you do something. I don't think it would be a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, council acknowledged there was an internal debate when they brought up Ballesteros to Milwaukee. Like, should it be Casey instead? So I'd imagine that debate hasn't totally ended yet. You're right. Like, September, there's an extra position player no matter what. So that is would be one way to incorporate one of those guys. I would say, like, there's definitely a chance, right? I feel like you can't rule out that idea, but you also have to have realistic expectations. And what you mentioned, Sahadev, is exactly what council has stressed in general. He had that great quote. I feel like last year, I think it was something like, the answers are rarely in AAA. That if you're kind of hoping for that, the player would have already been here by now. But yeah, I mean, if it keeps rolling this way, player gets injured or player's banged up, and all of a sudden it makes sense, like, why not for certain situational matchups? I think they're pretty close to that point.
All right, here's a question. This is from Tyler again, Tyler Dershel. With ghosts of offensive struggles, pass rearing their ugly head again, where does the blame lie? The players the team is built around, or the front office's idea of how they want to build a team? I mean, I think you could make that excuse. It could blame the front office last year. I don't know. Like, strictly speaking on the offense, I just don't think you can blame the front office right now. They got the players. These players are good. We've seen them do really well. I don't really know what the answer is. Should the front office have picked Isaac Collins over Peter Armstrong? Should they have traded Michael Busch and picked up Andrew Vaughn? Like, these are not things that any rational person would suggest before seeing what those players have done. So I just don't know what the answer is and how. Yes, I'm picking on the Brewers because the Brewers are the team that's lighting the league on fire. But like, who do you want other than the players that they've picked? What should they have done differently? I guess if there's one area that you really want to pick on, it could be they shouldn't have signed Dansby Swanson. That's just one player. Like, this is a full team, and suddenly everyone's not hitting outside of like 2 guys. So I don't think this is on the front office. I think, and majority of the time I'm going to default to it's on the players. The players need to produce. Yes, the front office picked those players, but but these are good players. We've seen them play at a high level. I don't have a good answer of why they're all struggling right now, but I just think it goes on them. They need to get going.
100% agree with you on it. This is all on the players. Like there are certain times, like the front office is not blameless. I don't think we're like celebrating what the front office did at the trade deadline, for example. But like Matt Shaw for most of the season was that sort of weaker link, and it was at a spot third base where the Cubs have had trouble filling the position recently, and he was their kind of homegrown first round pick that they believed in, and that is now looking pretty good. They've been validated by Matt Shaw's performance. So then you look out at the rest of this lineup, like, yeah, it's on the players. Like if Kyle Tucker is going to be the number one free agent this winter, like he has to perform. If you have a rental player for like 7 months, like he has to deliver the most important time of the year. Dansby Swanson is not, he runs hot and cold. I still think when you look back at that shortstop class, he probably made the most sense for this team, and his defense has been awesome, and he'll probably stay at shortstop the longest. I know he just had a bad defensive game, but over the long haul, makes sense. I mean, Ian Happ and Nico Hoerner were two extensions that they sort of did at this time where they were kind of in between. They just wanted like some players to build around, some, competence, some stability, and they've largely delivered. I mean, Happ needs to he's been kind of the one guy where you're like, he winds up with the same numbers like every single year. Like he's going to have a strong finish. And then like, Seiya, it was like, oh, he was an all-star snub. And, he's kind of been pretty quiet since then. So to me, this is definitely like, it's the guys with the bats in their hands.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a quick break and we'll wrap this up with a couple more questions.
Kratz, tell everyone why they need to look into a virtual private network, AKA a VPN.
It's kind of like wearing trousers. It keeps everything private and secure whenever you venture out.
That's good. That's really good. And Surfshark creates user-friendly privacy and security solutions to protect your data and your privacy online. It enables you to virtually explore the globe, browse privately by encrypting your internet activity, and block ads and malware that may disrupt your experience. So go to surfshark.com/foul or use the code FOUL at checkout at surfshark.com to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN. It's a risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee, and the FT fam is hooked up with 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN when you sign up at surfshark.com and use the code FOUL. It is time to take control of your online security. Try Surfshark today.
All right, here's a question from MJ McElwee, and I hadn't thought of this, and I think I kind of like it. Shouldn't Tucker be batting leadoff for now? He's walking 20% of the time after the All-Star break, so he has a 380 plus OBP, but his slugging seems to have abandoned him. Yeah, he's not slugging. Should it be a permanent move if he starts to hit homers again? No, but I kind of love this idea. He's walking a ton. Just continue to be like, don't overthink it. It doesn't put as much pressure on him. Like it changes the dynamic of the lineup, and it makes him, come up less often in all likelihood with men on base. But I don't hate the idea. He's really struggling to hit for power right now. As long as it doesn't change his mentality, I mean, his approach seems to be pretty sound. He's not chasing or doing anything awful up there. He's just not hitting his pitch. I kind of love this idea. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, MJ could be like a special assistant or something when the computers tell them where to hit. MJ could give a good suggestion there. Yeah. Plus, Tucker's a really nice base runner as well. Like I think it as a way to just start something, try something different. Like why not? I certainly don't like the idea of dropping Tucker in the lineup. I still think his track record is such that you want to get him as many at bats as possible. And if this is a different way to approach it, just temporarily, I don't really see the harm in it.
Yep, I like the idea. I'm curious. Like I don't know if council will do this, but I think it'd be kind of interesting. I don't think it would be a bad idea. All right, here's a question from Haley. I've been hearing during this stretch that the Brewers are an excellently run organization, and the proof is obvious. But what do they do differently that makes them so exceptional? Yeah, that's hard to nail down as far as exactly what they do. I think it is across the organization. It's not they just do this really well. Something that they preach is they know the type of player that they like. They know who fits into what they do, and they only bring in those types of players. I don't really know exactly what that means, but maybe it's just like you gotta do all the little things. You gotta stick with how we go about business, all that stuff, and then you gotta fit into our culture and our clubhouse. That's kind of a nebulous concept, though. Like, what are they great at? They identify undervalued talent really well. They're willing to make unpopular decisions. Trading Devin Williams, trading Josh Hader, trading Corbin Burns, not re-signing fan favorites like Willie Adames. The team's going to look pretty different every year, and somehow they're able to continue to have success. So that goes to they're just the latest small market team that's nailing every decision. I don't know, like we were celebrating Tampa a few years ago for the same thing, Cleveland as well. I don't know if this goes in cycles. I don't know if Milwaukee has figured something out and they have the secret sauce. Remember, we talked about the secret sauce when Jed hired Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe he should have hired Matt Arnold. I don't know. Clearly they're really well run. Clearly they do things. I think it's R&D, pro scouting, player development, their training, their managers, their coaches, all of it is really sound, and they bring in the right people in every facet of the organization, and they clearly, I think this took a little while to build, and they have it running like a well-oiled machine. Like how long ago was David Stearns hired? Like 12 years ago, 14 years ago.
Yeah.
So it takes a little while to implement these systems in place, but about 9 years ago, it started to really click, and it's only gotten better since. And I think it's like running really well right now. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing. Like they built something, and it's now in its final form.
I think you can even go back to like Doug Melvin, and him trading for CC Sabathia and kind of what he had built there. And I think it just speaks to a larger, like, I don't even know if it's a succession plan in certain cases, or as much as just like really just building and grooming good people so that when David Stearns leave, when Craig Counsell leaves, that there's someone else to step in. I'm sure the Cubs would point to it helps to have extra draft picks.
Not
just the extra picks, but the extra money. But certainly the Brewers have done like a good enough job in identifying some position players at the top of the draft. They have those kind of anchor players in Yelich and Contreras that were acquired via trades that were not like super obvious trades, at the time that you think, oh, these guys are going to be like franchise pillars. Certainly a willingness to make those difficult decisions. And I also, this is more of a vibes thing that's hard to quantify, but it seems like players like playing in Milwaukee. I think it's kind of a relaxed environment, but also a competitive environment. I think at the ownership level, they did not say like it's okay to tank for like 10 years. Like they try every year, even though their moves don't always reflect that. There just has not been this like we're just going to like disappear for 8 years but we're going to be really good in 2032, just to throw a random year out there. Like, and even like smaller things, like you see players go back to work there. I think of Carlos Villanueva, a guy that we covered in Chicago, who could do a lot of different things in this game, went back to Milwaukee. You look at kind of their coaching staff, guys they've brought back. Even they had like an alumni, just seeing it on social media, like an alumni home run derby that all these guys came back to, like, Miller Park, American Family Field, like with the roof, their facilities, it's like it seems like a comfortable place to play, like an easy place to play. I'm just talking about not just pressure, but just like the way it's set up. And then even like the coaching churn. I mean, Derek Johnson was a well-regarded pitching coach for the Brewers, and like he left and goes to Cincinnati. He's done a nice job there, but like the Brewers have just that next man up mentality, whether it's the front office, the dugout, the coaching staff. I think the Cubs just have to assume the Brewers are going to win 90 games every single year for the foreseeable future. Like you just can't take it for granted. I think you would think that would push the Cubs a little more. Like that was kind of my conventional wisdom at the trade deadline. Like, oh, well, like the Brewers are good, so the Cubs might like push in a little more, and they didn't. And honestly, like part of the reason the Brewers, very small reason, is that the Cubs have not been like exceptionally run every single year during this time. I think that's just like they've taken advantage of times when the Cubs have sort of receded.
Yeah, that and you mentioned the draft picks. That's supposed to be their advantage. The Cubs don't have that advantage, so you can't run them like the Brewers or Cleveland or Tampa Bay. You need to fully lean into your financial advantage, and while they use it to a degree, they don't fully lean into it. And we've talked about this plenty. One other thing I do wonder about this: do you? Like Jesse Rogers brought this up just in passing, talking about how maybe is there a mental letdown after the deadline for the Cubs? And that was, and he's like, there isn't one for the Brewers because they don't have those high expectations to do anything. And it's like, okay, is that just the case? Like, when you come to that organization, do you kind of know, like, we're not going to spend big. If we have a bad offseason, that's fine. We know what to do. We're going to find ways to win. We'll mine the, non-roster invites for exceptional talent. We'll get Isaac Collins out of the Rule 5 AAA draft, things like that. I don't know. Is there a mental aspect to being a Brewer that kind of allows you to not be disappointed, and by not being disappointed, you're playing free? That's impossible to measure. I don't know if that's real, but I just thought when Jesse said that, I was like, do you think so? And now that the way the teams have played, I'm totally going off recency bias here and what's happened in the past 10 days, but it does seem like it was just an interesting thought that I wanted to pass along. I don't know. Like they're clearly a well-run organization. They're clearly doing something exceptional, and they deserve a ton of credit for it. I don't care about the lucky bounces that they've gotten. You don't win 8+ games in a row 3 times in a season by luck. You need some luck to be good in baseball. That's baseball. Baseball has a lot of luck involved in it. Like a ball hit a few feet to the left or right can go from out to a double. Like that's just the way baseball is. So like to say, that's fine. You need luck to win, and they're getting it, but they're also creating their luck, and they're really good. So kudos to them. Cubs fans don't want to hear that. They don't want to give them kudos. So I'll stop praising the Brewers. The Cubs need to get back on track. That's obvious. They need to get hot. They need to make sure they lock in and really lock down that wild card spot. And so we're not having September conversations about a different type of collapse, because the division is looking rough right now. We'll see where they are. Well, this week by week, this is how I think you got to take it game by. They say game by game. I want to see where they are like a week from now, because they really need to just. I want to see some signs of life, and I think everyone would start to feel better about things. All right. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Thanks for sending in your questions. We really appreciate it. You really make the show go. You guys have been listening like crazy, and we truly appreciate every listener, all the help behind the scenes too. Thanks to everyone putting in work for us. Thanks for listening. This is Northside Territory. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and subscribe to The Athletic, where Patrick and I are on top of all things Cubs. Thanks for listening, everyone.